So there's new reporting out that Donald Trump was recruiting co-conspirators from the upper echelons of the Department of Justice to help him overturn the Georgia election results, to help him steal the Georgia election. Let's talk about what the Department of Justice and the incoming Attorney General must do. Because holding Donald Trump and his co-conspirators accountable, like justice, matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So just when you think you can't be surprised at the criminal depravity of Donald Trump, he actually manages to take his criminal conduct to new heights. And we learned about what he was doing in recent weeks to try to hold on to power. This from the Washington Post. Trump entertained plan to install an attorney general who would help him pursue baseless election fraud claims. Now, that headline sounds bad enough. And what we learned from that reporting and some reporting from the New York Times is that Donald Trump seems to have been conspiring with some top DOJ officials to try to criminally overturn the Georgia election results. Specifically, this guy, Jeffrey Clark, the head of the Civil Division at the Department of Justice. A pretty big job, take it from me. And if you thought that headline I just read to you was bad, wait until you hear this. I hope you're sitting down. This is something that was, I don't want to say buried, but it appeared toward the end of that Washington Post article that was published today. Jeffrey Clark wanted to send a letter to Georgia state electors wrongfully asserting, and let me say that another way, falsely asserting that the Department of Justice was investigating voter fraud and that Biden's win should be voided. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, the president seeming to criminally conspire with a top DOJ official to send a false letter to the Georgia election authorities saying the DOJ is investigating, which it wasn't, and Biden's win should be voided. This takes things to a different level, right? This is so far beyond Donald Trump using the Department of Justice and his former, lawyer, criminal defense attorney, Bill Barr, the former attorney general. This goes so far beyond Donald Trump using DOJ to protect his own interests, which he did and which was wrong. This even goes beyond Donald Trump using the Department of Justice to do favors, though, for his criminal associates like Roger Stone and Mike Flynn. This is Donald Trump trying to enter into a conspiracy with a top Department of Justice official to use the Department of Justice to steal the election. And apparently he found a guy in Jeffrey Clark who, based on the reporting, was willing to do it and wanted to send a letter in furtherance of that criminal conspiracy to the election officials in Georgia to try to seal the criminal deal for Donald Trump and in a conspiracy with Donald Trump. Now, folks, here's what must be done next. I'm sorry, but at this point, accountability is non-negotiable. Justice is non-negotiable. These criminals must be investigated, must be indicted, must be tried for their crimes, and, if convicted, must be sentenced. If we have any hope of deterring tomorrow's Donald Trump, the next criminal politician from trying this all over again, if we have any hope of actually keeping our republic. Accountability is non-negotiable. Here's what must happen. First of all, this Jeffrey Clark character, who was ready, willing, and able to jump into a criminal conspiracy with Donald Trump to try to, wrongfully keep him in power, overturning the will of the American voters. This guy must be subpoenaed by Congress so it all gets aired out for the public. He must be subpoenaed to a grand jury investigating these crimes. And here's what will happen when he gets subpoenaed by Congress and or by the grand jury, I predict. He will do one of two things. He will either try to invoke executive privilege. He'll say, oh, nope. These conversations with the president, they're protected by executive privilege. It's important for the free flow of information when you're having internal discussions and debates with the president. That will fail because there's a little something called the crime fraud exception to executive privilege. So if you're talking about doing crime, if you're talking about entering into a criminal conspiracy to try to steal an election, that does not enjoy the protection of the executive privilege exception. Gone. Let him try. The other thing Jeffrey Clark might do, and his lawyer will probably advise him to do if the reporting is accurate, he'll invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination because the reporting has him entering into or attempting to enter into a conspiracy with the President of the United States to overthrow the will of the American voters. That would be a crime. So what happens if Jeffrey Clark invokes his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination? Well, really only one of two things can happen because justice is non-negotiable. Here are the two things. One, Congress could grant him immunity. So he could then be compelled, forced to testify before Congress about these conversations, these incidents with the president. And if he is put in the grand jury as a witness and invokes his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, the Department of Justice could grant him immunity and force him, compel him to testify in the grand jury. Because once you have immunity, you can't incriminate yourself because you can't be prosecuted. So you can be forced to talk about stuff, even stuff you did wrong. Okay? Here's the catch. If Congress or if the Department of Justice grants Jeffrey Clark immunity and forces him to testify, it makes it much harder to prosecute Jeffrey Clark in the future in the event he committed crimes. Because there's a very high burden of showing that nothing he said under the grant of immunity, nothing he said that was compelled, right, that he was forced to say because he was granted immunity, none of it can be used against him at a criminal trial. So it gets dicey. It's a dicey proposition granting somebody immunity and retaining the ability to successfully prosecute him for his crimes. So here is the other thing that can happen if Congress or if the Department of Justice decides not to grant Jeffrey Clark immunity. They can investigate his crimes, conspiracy with the president or otherwise. If there's enough evidence, they can indict him, they can try him. If the evidence supports it, they can convict him and they can sentence him rather than granting him immunity. And what happens once he's indicted? Well, then he might want to flip on the president, become a cooperating witness. Yes, to save himself, yes, to reduce his criminal exposure and the sentence he might get. But that is the other way to deal with somebody's Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Fine, you don't have to incriminate yourself. We're going to indict you for your crimes, and we're going to try you, and we're going to convict you if the evidence supports it. So once you're charged, once you're indicted, you might want to enter into a cooperation agreement. We'll give you a reduced charge or a reduced sentence, but you must tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth about your crimes, about Donald Trump's crimes, and about any other crimes about which you have information. I think that might be the better play, holding Jeffrey Clark accountable for what it is being reported he did, and flip him, turn him into a cooperating witness against Donald Trump. Because I'm telling you folks, at this point, justice is non-negotiable. You don't let bygones be bygones. When a president is trying to enter into a conspiracy with top Department of Justice officials to steal a presidential election, ain't no bygones about that. No turning the other cheek, no kumbaya. There's accountability. And the prescription for accountability is as easy as 1, 2, 3. You divorce politics from it. Right, left, center, doesn't matter. You investigate these crimes fully, aggressively, honorably, ethically, fairly, and apolitically in the grand jury, and then you indict the wrongdoers. Easy as 1, 2, 3 if you take politics out of it. And we must take politics out of it. You know, our republic is worth the fight. Time for accountability. Time for justice. Because justice matters. And as always, folks, thank you for tuning in to these daily videos. If you'd like to more formally support our all-volunteer efforts here, support our content, you can go over to patreon.com, sign up to become a patron, and if you do, I will send you some Team Justice stickers and a personal handwritten note of thanks. You can also find me over on Facebook, Justice Matters with Glenn Kirshner, and of course on Twitter all day and night trying to answer your legal questions. On Twitter, it's @GlennKirshner2. So as always, folks, please stay tuned. Please stay safe. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.